What's up, guys? It's episode 30 of Counterculture with Counterculture with Aaron Lujan. What's up? 10:16 Mountain, 9:16 Pacific. If you guys have never seen this before, this is my podcast. I broadcast it on Facebook to draw attention to the podcast. You can download the podcast on all the major podcast players. It is November 3rd, 2018. This is episode 30. The greatest investment we can ever make is having children and giving ourselves over to them daily. Guys, this is the pre-show. I basically give people about 3 minutes to be able to join the live broadcast. So if in these next 3 minutes, if you guys want to say hello, I know people join but act all shy, so they don't ever say anything. But then I'll get off the Facebooks and see there were hundreds of people watching, but then actually nobody comments. So I don't know. I'm physically tired today, guys, so I'm going to do my very best. I've had this topic on my heart for a couple weeks and wanted to take a little bit of a hiatus from all of the hyper political stuff that we've been discussing lately, just because I think we're all burnt out with politics. And I don't know if I have any more friends that can unfriend me. I had a couple more unfriendings on the last one, but I don't blame them. It was pretty intense. So we got about 2 minutes here, guys. I appreciate you guys supporting the podcast. Apparently, I have not been kicked off of Facebook yet. So until that day, thank you for joining the Facebook. If anybody is in the house, please say hello. I'm going to say hi in the comment section. AaronLujan.com is where all the videos and podcasts are archived. You can get the podcast on Stitcher, iTunes, iHeartRadio, all the major podcast players. And this is gonna be a short one, guys. It's not gonna be like anything like the last one, which I think was almost an hour and a half. Can you believe that? So I got about a minute left, and if anybody is in the room, could you say hi and tell me what you guys are doing tomorrow? Tomorrow's Sunday. Sunday fun day. You guys like this Chinese restaurant wall behind me? I need to get something different. I actually got a major announcement before I start. Since I got 40 seconds, I'm going to start bringing on guests. And we have our very first guest joining us in about 2 to 3 weeks. This gentleman is a good friend of mine, and he started an organization called Power Over Porn. We're going to be discussing pornography and its effect on men today. It's going to be very interesting. So if you guys know anybody suffering from porn addiction or that watches porn, definitely tune in for that episode. So here we go, episode 30 about to get started right now. Let's turn off Policy of Truth, Depeche Mode for a minute. And welcome. Today is November 3rd, 2018. You are listening to Counterculture with Aaron Lujan, also known in the Southwest as Lujan. This is episode 30. The greatest investment we can ever make is having children and giving ourselves over to them daily. Thank you for joining me. Everything is archived on AaronLujan.com. It's currently being broadcast across the Facebooks, compliments of Mountain View, California. And it's also being recorded as a podcast, available on all the major podcast players. I've had this topic on my heart for a couple weeks now, and I know I hadn't recorded a podcast in about a month, so I thought, What better way to spend my Saturday night than with the Facebook fam that hasn't unfriended me yet? Because I had a lot, the last episode, not a lot, but definitely a couple people just could not take my hatred and racism and xenophobia and Islamophobia. So I decided to depart from my usual hatred and just get into something maybe a little bit more positive, something encouraging, and a break from all of the political craziness that will finally end on Tuesday, right, guys? And the reason this topic has been on my heart is I really am preaching to myself when I want to discuss this issue. And it really is, so let me begin by saying I have 3 children, okay? So I have a 5-year-old daughter, I have a 3-year-old daughter, and I have an 11-month-old son. And I'm a guy who used to say, I'm never going to get married, I'm never going to have kids. And then all of that happened, and it's been the greatest, by far the greatest fulfillment and the greatest blessing and the greatest challenges that I've ever experienced in my life, bringing little human beings into this crazy, crazy planet. And so I wanted to talk about this because I feel like we have a crisis amongst society, and this is addressing people who don't have kids. So if you're out there and you were used to be like me, I'm never going to have kids, I'm too selfish, and it's not for me, and I'm not for that, or maybe one day down the road, this podcast is for you. If you have children, this podcast is for you. This is for any adult, really, who can procreate. And the reason I say crisis is because I feel like there's a lot of people, especially in this millennial generation, who are averse to having children. I've heard people say, "Oh, I'm too selfish," or when I have more money, or when my career, or after my husband and I, or my wife and I, fulfill X, Y, or Z, then we'll have children. Also, I see people that already have children that really talk about it as a burden. They talk about it like it's something that they got to avoid, it's challenging, and it's not an enjoyable experience, and they would rather be doing something else than maybe raising kids or even being with their kids. And you hear the, oh, thank God it's finally, fall time, we got to put the kids back into school. Or I personally have had days where I'm just looking forward to them finally going to bed because they're acting up, it's a hard day. But I think in the midst of all of that, we're missing something massive, which is the greatest investment opportunity of our lifetimes. And the reason I say investment is because when we think of investments, we think about investing resources, our time, our money, our energy, committing our lives into an endeavor for the purposes of getting a return. And we're all familiar. We do that, each one of us. We have jobs. We're investing in our careers. Maybe we're going and we're investing in our education. We're going and getting that MBA or that next graduate degree. Many of us are investing in the financial markets. We have stocks, bonds, mutual funds, real estate, Bitcoin, etc. We're investing in businesses so that we can get a return because we're motivated by the potential of a return on investment, right? We want to buy that piece of land because in 15 to 20 years it'll be 80% more value than what we bought it for. A lot of us invest in our physical selves, right? We're in the gym every day. We are working out, we're watching our diets. We invest in our careers or personal development. We're going to seminars, we're going to workshops. All of us are either investing our resources for a return, or all of us are really investing at some capacity, I believe, unless I've checked out on life and you don't care. But I would like to think that most of us that are listening to this podcast are investing something for a return, right? And especially today with this material obsessed culture, we're constantly trying to improve ourselves, right? The better car, the better job, the better social status, the bigger house, so that we can put it on Facebook and Instagram and impress people that don't really care about us, so that we could maybe feel better about ourselves. And I think that comes from a tendency to be selfish. Many of us, including myself, are thinking about ourselves, right? What will I be able to get at in return if I invest, in the gym and my body, right? I'll look better, I'll feel better, I'll be healthier. If I just go out and get my MBA, I'll end up making more money to be able to have these things. And a lot of us with kids will sugarcoat it or use the excuse, well, it's for my kids, while they're not spending time with their children. I got to go to graduate school. I got to put in those extra hours of work. I got to go travel because it's for my kids. Or people without kids will say, married people without kids, for example, will say, oh, I'm going to, not have kids right away because we got to, make sure our lowercase j's are dotted and our t's are crossed before we cross that threshold into children land. We want to go travel. We want to get to know each other better. It's going to be better for our marriage. It's going to be better for our kids. And then, of course, people that don't have children, that aren't married, will say things like, well, I'll never have kids or I'll never get married because I've had literally people be honest and say, well, because I'm selfish, right? They don't want to have children because they would think that their life will not be enjoyable anymore, that they'll not be able to do all the things that they want to do for themselves. And so I wanted to speak to that tonight and submit this to you, that kids are the most rewarding investment with the greatest return, more than financial, more than career, more than physical, more than educational, more than any of the other investments that you're making. And the reason for that is kids. Whoa, I almost knocked my backdrop over. You guys would have seen Vladimir Putin. The reason I submit this to you and the argument that I'm making is that when you invest in your children, you're investing into eternity. You're going to die one day. I'm going to die one day. And God willing, your kids will outlive you, right? And then they will influence a generation that you will never be able to touch or see. So unlike other investments, this investment could go on forever and touch people in ways that you and I could never imagine, in very valuable, meaningful ways. Kids are rewarding, but because of our selfishness, many times we don't allow ourselves to invest the time with our children. For example, with my 5-year-old, she'll ask me to play with her. And many times she asks me at the end of my day, when I'm exhausted, I have nothing in me, all I want to do is just, after an 8-10 hour day, just veg for like an hour and stare at the ceiling or stare at my Instagram feed and not hear anybody or talk to anybody because I'm exhausted. And so the tendency is to tell her no. And however, when I jump into her world and I play with her and we spend that time, many times I get to see the wonder of my daughter. My 5-year-old daughter is amazing. When you sit at the feet of your children and just bathe in their amazingness. For example, my 5-year-old is so intelligent, and the way that she looks at the world and the innocence and the wonder that she sees, it not only allows you to free yourself from yourself, so you're not self-centered anymore. And when you do that, you just feel better. You have peace. There's more fulfillment when you're invested in others. And I say that by experience. So, sorry, this mic is like right covering my face. in addition to that, it's also an opportunity to shape and form another human being and how they're going to turn out. I mean, think about yourself. You are the product of possibly parents, your guardians. I don't know if you came from a single mother household. I don't know if you were raised by your grandparents or wolves or what have you, but whoever was around you during those formative years, you are the product of that environment and those people. And to think that human beings being the most important, thing on the planet, having children gives us the opportunity to be able to partake in the shaping and forming of another human being. And this may sound all very elementary and simple and maybe kind of boring to some. I've already seen people come into the feed and leave, so maybe it's not very interesting. I think it's interesting because when you think about that idea, when you stop to think about, wow, I have the opportunity to literally build a little human being, and their values and the way they look at the world and how they treat others and who they become is a direct result of your involvement. And the time is so short, you guys. My eldest is 5, and she grew up so fast that I look at her and I ask myself, did I drink it all up? Did I take full advantage? So the next time, parents, you guys are tired or you want to just, be doing something else other than cleaning floors and disciplining and putting kids on timeout and, investing all of these dollars and time into what seems sometimes like a thankless endeavor, think about, this is it. This is just a short window. And the smaller they are, like my 11th month old, the more amazing it seems like they are. And do not lose out on that season. I've had so many older parents with grown children, a lot of peers of my parents who have children maybe my age or a little younger that are adult children, tell me the time goes by quick. Don't let it go by so fast, And now that I have a 5-year-old, I really understand that better than I did before, is just spend time with them, bask in their wonder, talk to them, read to them, play with them. Today I was driving to a party with my children, and unfortunately, the radio went out in the car, and I just don't have the money to fix it right now. So it's kind of been a blessing because we actually now talk a lot more than just tune them out and listen to music. And as I was talking to them, my 3-year-old daughter, who's so amazing, says, "Papa, I want to go on a cloud and sleep on a cloud and eat popcorn with you, and I want to slide down a rainbow." And that's just the sweetest thing, and it just made me so happy. Something so innocent and innocuous brought me so much joy, so much pure joy, something that you couldn't compare to the nights where I was inebriated and single and acting like an idiot. That wasn't that as fun and as fulfilling as this. It's a whole other level, you guys. And so I say that, and I implore the single people out there, do not be deceived. When you give of yourself, you get more in return. That may sound bumper stickerish, but it's been true in my life. And I would be hard-pressed to find any parents who would disagree with me. That when you have little ones to give of yourself and pour into them, you, without wanting to, end up touching a part inside of you that really is fulfilling. And so I hope that's encouraging all the single people who maybe have written off marriage and child rearing. You grow up. You become more responsible. You think less of yourself and more of your children, and that just sort of bleeds into thinking more of others. The ROI is eternal. Um, Kids are going to be your greatest masterpiece. Think about maybe the investment you're making in your home. Maybe you're redoing the kitchen. Maybe you're investing your time in an art project. Maybe some of you are creators and artists out there. I know some of my friends on Facebook are incredible artists, and I respect you guys for your gifts. And you will invest maybe the next 10, 20, 30 years of your career perfecting that gift and building these masterpieces. But then when those masterpieces are done, do they have any sort of eternal value? You know, will they transcend time? And will it fulfill you the way raising another human being would? I would argue that what your greatest masterpiece are your children. Your greatest legacy are your children. They're literally going to carry your DNA into the future and live for eternity and touch generations and people that will be born far after you're 6 feet underground. So today I spoke with a friend at this party, and ironically, it's kind of maybe the reason why I decided, you know what, today I'm going to do episode 30 on this topic. She told me she's a military wife. Her husband and her, I think, Air Force, were stationed in Germany, and they had a friend of a general. And a retired general told them, you know, when you retire as a general in the military, you know, all the top brass dignitaries, VIPs go, you know, you get this amazing, you know, commencement. And of course, the world looks at you with awe and wonder because you're a military general. I mean, you rub shoulders with, you know, Pentagon officials and, you know, U.S. presidents and all these, you know, all this worldly stuff. But what they said is that if you're standing up there and no one's standing behind you, you're a failure. Think about that. And this was not her words. This was the general's words who actually, now I don't know if this retired general burnt his family out because he put his career before his family, but the lesson or the moral of the story is that it does not matter what you're going to achieve in life. If you reach the highest stars, you achieve the greatest accomplishments, your family, your crew, your tribe, the people that are carrying your DNA, the people that are yours, your people, if you don't live life pouring into them and building them up and sending them out to hit their mark, you haven't really lived life. I also want to add to that kids especially need our attention in our relationships and our time and our words. They crave it more than we realize because they don't have the capacity to articulate how much or how important your words and your attention and your time is. I've impacted my daughter in ways that I didn't even know emotionally by things that I've done or didn't do. And it's incredible to see how fragile they are. So, guys, children are a gift, man. They are an incredible gift. Ask parents or ask couples who really want children and simply cannot have them how much of a gift you have, or if you have the capacity to bear children. Don't leave that on the table, you guys. You're leaving gold on the table. If I would have told you in worldly terms, hey, you know, don't leave that 50,000 acres in San Diego County on the table, people would say, of course I wouldn't. That's worth tens of millions of dollars. I just had a friend recently find out that they had some Native American blood and they're going to inherit some land. Not 50,000 acres, but a lot smaller, but still probably a very good chunk of real estate. You know, she's going to follow up. She's going to go back to the tribe. She's going to fill out the necessary paperwork to claim her inheritance, to claim her investment, to claim her gift. Nobody would be stupid enough to leave real estate on the table. Nobody would be stupid enough to leave a business opportunity on the table. Or if somebody called you today and say, hey, I got this extra ticket to Paris, it's all expenses paid, you would not hang up the phone. You would think about it. You don't leave golden opportunities on the table, but sometimes the greatest opportunities and the greatest gifts come in the form of work clothes. Some of the greatest things are right before our face. And we don't necessarily have to strive for these great things, because sometimes the greatest things have been given to us as gifts. And those gifts are children. So if you have the capacity, if you're unmarried or you're married without children, I don't want to hear, well, it's not for everyone. That's a cop-out. It's for most people. There's a very, very rare circumstances. And you know what? Now that I know what I know, if I didn't have the ability to have children, man, I would be trying every way possible, the same way that I would be searching for lost pearls, the same way that I'd be searching for the stacks of gold bars that I found out may be buried behind my home. I would be seeking it like lost treasure. So I'm just going to conclude with this, you guys, at 10:42. Again, very short podcast today, but wanted to record episode 30 on a lighter note. Close with this, with a challenge. How are we going, for parents who have children, how are we going to relate to them this week? Are we going to view it as, oh, playing with our kids is boring, or reading to them the book the 26th time? You guys, just be in the moment. Just do it. Do it when you're tired. Do it when they're annoying you. Do it when you just don't have anything in you. Because I promise you, you'll look back. You'll look back and you'll say, I'm glad I took the time to spend it with my children while they were small. I can never get that time back. One day they'll be adults, and you're not going to be thinking about the dirty house. You're not going to be thinking about the latest car. You're going to be thinking about people. I hear that when people are on their deathbed, the things that they think about and the things that they, like they say that life flashes before your eyes, sometimes before you die. They're not thinking about stuff, guys. They're thinking about people. They're thinking about relationships. And the greatest relationships, I think, aside from our spouses, are our children. My son's going to be my best friend. He's going to be a friend for life. He's going to be my little guy that I'm going to be able to shape and teach him what it means to be a man. I have the opportunity to show two little girls what a good man looks like. And I fail daily, but I'm trying. And I want them to have a standard so that they can separate the idiots and the fools from the good guys. And I want to be able to show them things that only their parents can, and just pour into their lives, guys. So that was it. That's episode 30. I hope you single people are a little bit more encouraged to take the plunge, put a ring on it, have some kids, leave a legacy. We only got this. This is not a dress rehearsal, you guys. We're living this life together. We got one shot. This is the greatest investment you'll ever make. Better than your MBA, better than that business opportunity, better than anything, guys. Better than real estate. Trust me. Believe me. Episode 30, the title of the podcast today was The Greatest Investment We Can Ever Make is Having Children and Giving Ourselves Over to Them Daily. Thank you for joining me, guys. This was AaronLujan.com. Counterculture with Aaron Lujan. Love you guys. Peace.